Sunday Night Safran. Religion, politics, culture, and lisping.
Shalom, salam, Pax, dear listener, and Father Bob.
And to me.
Now, Father Bob, tonight we have a Singapore Hindu heavy metal band, Rudra.
What?
We also have...
Rudra.
Rudra.
Oh, Rudra.
Apparently it's one of the incarnations of Shiva
sorry,
or something.
I shouldn't have.
We also have a rabbi and also just another Jew with a beard coming in to talk about comic book superheroes.
Yeah.
And their Jewish roots.
That'll be good.
Because Edward Norton's The Incredible Hulk is coming out, we should delve into this issue. Also, you're going to be in charge of this interview. You're going to be like Andrew Denton, of this interview with Grace Pundyk, who's written a book all about honey. And I know that sounds...
Throughout the world.
I know that doesn't sound interesting, dear listener, but there's like Al-Qaeda connections, blah, blah, blah.
Mafia connections in Russia.
And the reason Father Bob has to Andrew Denton this interview is because, of course, of your past as a beekeeper.
As a beekeeper, as a much-stung beekeeper.
So you'll be able to have an informed conversation.
We have deep and meaningful.
And
about eggs and about fertilisation.
Benjamin Gilmore, some white guy who went over to Pakistan and he shot a kind of a film, an independent film on the fly. Not a documentary.
What, on flies?
No, not a documentary.
Oh, sorry, Doctor. It's all right.
But what's the ones that aren't documentaries? Narrative film, whatever.
Yeah. The doco, yeah.
Hey, Father Bob.
What do you got in that bag?
No, you can't look yet.
Why? Because I hate this business of springing surprises and things.
What's this?
That looks to me like the sun god.
No, what is it? What does it look like?
That looks to me... We had these when I was a kiddie.
What is it?
A gollywog.
Father Bob.
What? A chocolate gollywog.
Yes, I know it looks like a gollywog. I went down to Carlisle Street Coles New World to get my cookies to eat on the couch. Cookies on the couch during late line.
A chockywog.
Look at that.
A scallywag.
They've rebadged. They think we're idiots. Like the gollywog biscuits that like you grew up with and even I grew up with. Now they think that they can just rebadge it with scallywag, which even has the same rhythm.
Resonance.
Gollywog,
scollywag.
And we're not going to know what the hell's going on.
Who do they think they are?
Do you know what this is? You know when John Howard is, dog whistle politics?
Yes.
Where, like, John Howard would say something and it wasn't quite racist.
Yes.
But, the constituent, or everyone in Ipswich, they knew what it was. They knew. This is dog whistle biscuiteering. They're putting out these biscuits that clearly have, look at the cover. They're little brown figures and they've got, like, fuzzy-wuzzy hair and they're wearing red vests with a little bow tie.
Yes. They could be nothing else but.
I do declare, kind of, like, bulging eyes, and they think that just by calling them scallywags, we're not going to know what's going on.
No, they could be nothing else but
a gollywog.
This is like Alice Pung's yellow child on her book. You see what I mean? Also, what are these three holes? There's three holes there, vertical holes. Now,
the Klan got.
Do you reckon? I reckon something's happened there. That somebody, in fact, on the assembly line, has in fact shot three, BBs. Into each skelly. What is a scallywag?
I presume unbeknownst to Arnott's Biscuits, they've actually got into a spot of bother with this whole scallywag thing, because maybe they should have looked up the Oxford English Dictionary to find out what the word scallywag means. And they've bumped off the racially charged gollywog. But scallywag, even though now it's considered just a little light, fluffy word, its root is a racially charged epithet. Is that the word? Epithet.
Epithet will do.
Epithet.
Yes.
Do you know what a scallywag was, how it all started?
No, go on.
So after the American Civil War, the white Southerners who... so they'd lost the war, and the white Southerners who immediately formed, like, unions and alliances with the freed black slaves for political reasons.
Yes.
they were called by the other white Southerner scallywags.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So now they've both got onto another racially charged insult. Plus, it's all confusing because it's like a scallywag is a white person who bonded with the black people, but they still look exactly like
Well,
Golliwogs.
this is neither black nor white, listeners. Sorry you can't see it. It's a paler shade
Obama.
of grey.
It's the Obama colour.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's not black enough.
Kenyan father
And?
Kansas mother.
All right. Well, thanks for that information about scallywag. I never did. You made it up or what?
Check your Oxford.
Oh, fair enough.
We'll
Google
talk
it.
more after this.
Phantom Boogie by Blue Juice John, Triple J.
Thank you, Father
Sunday
Bob.
Night Safran.
We have in a small booth in Sydney, I believe. We have author of Warrior Poets, Benjamin Gilmore. How are you?
Very well, thank you, John. Thank you, Father Bob.
Now, can you tell us what Warrior Poets is about?
Warrior Poets is a book title which I've written, but the title itself...
You don't need that much detail?
Are you sure?
Yes, go on.
I'm offering what I can here.
Yes.
It is very important because it actually sums up the nature of the Pashtun people of the tribal areas of Pakistan, who are often referred to as warrior poets because they're tough and soft in equal measure.
Now, please tell us about these Pashtuns, the Pashtun people. How are they distinct from the other people in Pakistan?
They're extremely distinct. In fact, they couldn't be any more different to the Punjabis. I mean, hospitality, generosity across Pakistan, the people are well known for that. But the Pashtun people are often bearded, often turban-wearing. They're very much into their traditional shalwar kameez, their traditional Islamic costume.
And it's like it's a different language, would it not be?
Different language, Pasht language of Pashto, funnily enough. And, they're
different heritage.
Different heritage. They're from an Afghan heritage. In fact, when the British left that region, they kind of divided Pakistan up in a very peculiar way.
And unfortunately, possibly the most famous Pashtuns, of course, most of the members of the Taliban.
Indeed, they were.
Which is why I always said this when people were like going, "Oh, the dirty Arabs who do all this stuff." It's like if you're going to be a racist, be more accurate. You know what I mean? It's the dirty Pashtuns, not the dirty Arabs.
Now, I'll have to take you to task on that one, John. In fact, I think the Pashtuns have been hosting because it's their traditional, ethnic way of going about things. These guests, which have tended to be Arabs and Chechens and Sudanese, commonly referred to as Al-Qaeda militants in their region, because they're obliged to under their ethnic code of conduct.
I've read otherwise, Benjamin Gilmore, but how are we going to fight about? You know what I mean? Like maybe people can Google it. I've read that most of the Taliban were Pashtuns, but you could be.
Sure.
I'm just saying that.
Oh, absolutely. Most of the Taliban most of the Pashtuns, which is more accurate, are not Taliban.
Oh, of course not. Yes, no, you're correct.
No,
yes.
and Taliban, in fact, we should first clear that up. It actually means student. It's the Arabic word for student, and a student of, generally, religion, of the Islamic faith.
In a madrasa.
In a madrasa, correct, which is a religious school.
Now, and I write that the Pashtun tradition predates Islam, so even though most of them are Islamic, their roots as Pashtuns goes before that.
Indeed, yes, and that's where a lot of confusion lies as well, is because some of their traditions, which are criticised, for which Islam's criticised, are actually very ancient Pashtun traditions. And there was a big question that came up all the time in discussion over there when I was spending time with the Pashtuns about whether they were Muslims first or Pashtuns first. And it was my perception that, in fact, the Pashtun first argument won most of the time, that the Pashtuns of the region are more true to their Pakhtunwali, their tribal codes, and value them more highly if you're going to kind of...
Now tell us about these Pakhtunwali, because that's almost like their, I guess, religion or quasi-religion that was there before Islam.
It was, and it's very ingrained to this day. And the principal element of this Pakhtun Wali is one of hospitality. So, before anything else, before even finding out who you are or where you're from, they'll offer you a cup of tea. And
call you uncle.
And call you uncle, and even do that to your enemies, to their own enemies. They're open-armed. Of course, the second element of Pakhtun Wali is known as badal, which in Pashto means revenge. So after sharing that cup of tea with their enemy, once the enemy leaves through the front door,
you throw the cup of tea at their head.
They're entitled to shoot them in the back.
Now, just backing up your entirely correct claim that not all Pashtuns are in the Taliban, as people such as the US ambassador to the UN. So the US ambassador to the UN is a Pashtun American.
Indeed. Yes. And many of the Pashtuns in tribal areas of Pakistan would probably refer to him as a traitor.
Ah. Now, did you ever play Nazai Buzzy, the horsemen sport where they run around on horses throwing spears? That's their AFL. We have AFL. They have Nazai Buzzy.
I didn't see a whole lot of sport going on there. There was a lot of sitting around drinking tea and smoking hash, but there wasn't much horse riding and, kicking around goats' heads or anything of that kind, no. I'm aware that goes on in Afghanistan and in the higher regions of Pakistan, but I never played that sport.
That'd be pretty... Now, how long were you there? And just so I know how foolish you were to be there for that long and not play one game of Nazai Buzzy.
I was there for 8 months, shooting the film. I mean, most of that time was spent... drinking the tea and hanging out with the locals.
So this film, this isn't a documentary. This is like where it's like a narrative where you assigned roles.
It's a drama.
Yes,
it's a straight drama, but in a sense it has a documentary feel about it. The way it's been shot, of course, you can't bring in a big 35mm camera and a massive film crew and continuity people.
I like your implication there. I like your implication that, sure, you could have shot something like Stanley Kubrick, but it was only because of these restrictions that it looks a bit rough and tumble.
And those film crews wouldn't be able to get in there. People have been trying to get in there for years. The BBC, when I approached them for funding back in 2001, said, you're crazy, firstly, for even attempting it. We've had people that have tried to get in there, they can't get in there. And even if you got permission from the Pakistani government, who would provide a military escort to you, well, there's nothing the Pashtuns hate more than a soldier. They hate the military. They hate the Pakistani army in particular because it's a majority Punjabis, which are not even their ethnic group. And, you rock in there with this huge military outfit trying to shoot this huge, this Stanley Kubrick film, and you wouldn't get any cooperation. The fact that I went in there, hung out with them, stayed with them, drank tea with them, had dinner with them, chatted to them, listened to them, most importantly, and what they had to say, who they were trying to figure out who they were, and and really developed a friendship with the Pashtun people of the area.
So give us the little blurb on the film. What's the film about?
The film's about a father-son relationship. A father who has a weapon manufacturing workshop in the town of Dar Adam Khel, which is just south of Peshawar in the tribal area. It's outside of Pakistan law, and therefore they use that to their advantage by manufacturing weapons in this town. They finish about 700, 800 weapons a day there, which are sold around Pakistan. Some people suggest they're also passed on to warlords in Afghanistan and the new Taliban element that's rising in the area. And that's the way they make their money. They're supplemented, of course.
Strife. Did you get
drugs.
into any strife whilst filming this film? If so, give us 2 examples.
All right, I tried to avoid strife, and even the slightest bit of strife would have resulted in my rushes being confiscated.
Ah, yes.
And that's the end for a drama. Like if you're doing a documentary, you could probably squeeze a bit of footage out of it. If you've got a drama that's being shot out of sequence and your rushes are stolen, you detained halfway through the shoot, well, that's it's not going to make any sense. You're not going to have anything to work with.
Blue screen it. What about, like The Sopranos or whatever, where that woman died halfway or whatever? Aren't there all these films where they get around it? Anyway.
I want to know something. Because yes, Benjamin says... he says he's a closet Pakhtun. Don't you?
Am I a closet
Yes,
Pashtun?
that's what you say in the book. You says it's not merely a race, but a state of mind. There's a Pashtun lying inside every man who at time wakes up and overpowers him.
So Pashtun, they're one branch of the Pashtuns, are they?
No, the Pashtuns is the English way of saying Pashtun, and the British way of saying it is probably more correctly Patan, which is spelled P-A-T-H-A-N.
And I'm saying it some third way. I'm saying it's the Carlisle Street way.
But are you or are you not?
I think I'm a closet Pashtun.
Good, thank you very much.
Now, that does not make me a closet Taliban.
No, it makes you a warrior poet.
That's right.
And I'm a military monk.
But you could get away, because there's a picture of you on the back, and I reckon you could get away if you change your accent.
That's right. Well, I didn't speak. I tried not to speak when I was in the company of people who didn't know who I was, and, you know, I was wearing this beard and tried to walk like they do, kind of a bit rough and you know, look as if I was kind of ill-mannered. They're not a big fan of Western manners. They think it's unnatural. They really live quite rough, but at the same time it's liberating. You're kind of getting back to your tribal kind of Neanderthal. It's great. It's a great feeling.
I just remembered we were talking about whether you got into any strife, and you got no strife whatsoever. What's this whole thick book about then? If there's
there was the threat of strife.
Ah, yes.
All the way. There were searches, you know. I thought I was being tailed all the time. I went to great lengths to, you know, avoid that. I loved playing the James Bond. I was always into, you know, the spy novels, and it was quite thrilling. I'd tell my hotel guy, you know, I was going to go north by train, and I'd catch the bus south. You know, I'd try and cover my tracks. I'd leave late at night when I could detect whether I was being tailed. I loved getting dressed up. I was, put my luggage in an old sack and got it sewn up. To look more the part. I travelled with the locals on the minibuses, you know, squashed in with the locals. I didn't make a scene. I didn't hire my own Jeep with my camera gear and an armed escort. I just didn't want to stand out. You know, this was all part of slipping past the checkpoints and being able to achieve what I was going to achieve without getting those rushes stolen and getting detained and deported.
And the younger star of the show, is that Niaz? Niaz
Shinwari
is the younger star.
That's right. And I mean, he was lovely, but
what happens to him eventually? I mean, did it have any effect on his life?
The filmmaking process.
Film? Yes.
Well, it did. It went to his head, and it went to his head very quickly.
Listen,
to the point where he started, he started calling action, and then he started calling cut, and then, you know, he refused to work. He'd go on strike. I mean, he was temperamental, and initially he was the loveliest, politest little kid, you know. And it all turned around.
Listen, I don't want to get petty, but remember how we had that fight, that subtle fight about 1.5 minutes ago, where I said, aren't the Pashtuns a branch of the Pashto? This is why I was getting confused. Because to prepare for this interview, I read about the Pashtuns, and it does actually say here...
Pashtuns,
yeah, Pashtun, in my book, Pashtuns who speak a southern dialect of Pashto refers to themselves as Pashtuns, whilst those who speak a northern dialect, they refer to themselves as Pashtuns. So, I don't want to get in a fight, but it appears, according to this, I was right.
Well, yeah, I mean, you probably were. I mean, there's different names for the Pashtuns, and even the Pashtuns have different names for themselves and each other, so, you know... Sure.
When's this film... It's already been shown in Sydney, has it?
It's been shown at the Sydney Film Festival.
Yes.
And it'll have a general release...
Well received?
August. Very well received.
Very well. The Son of a Lion.
Is it going to be playing down in our part of Australia?
Of course it will. It's going to be appearing at the Melbourne International Film Festival.
How do I scam a ticket, or are you like...
We'll make sure you get one.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Well, not as long as you pronounce
you won't get a ticket
correctly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Don't fight with Benjamin over trivia.
I don't mind a good stoush. I mean, the Pashtuns love fighting.
You have to be wild. Yeah, wild to be a Pashtun.
You know?
Isn't it?
And well done on getting the book out at the same time as was that like hard, doing the two at once?
No, well, just fell into place like that, which is really convenient, you know, because people who read the book now can go and see the film, people who see the film want to read the book.
And a good-looking book.
Warrior Poets by Benjamin Gilmore, about his film Son of a Lion, directed by Benjamin Gilmore. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, John, and thank you.
Thank you.
Coldplay, sorry.
Tegan and Sarah with Dancing in the Dark, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Chappelle Corby, guilty or not guilty, Father Bob?
Don't know nothing.
Don't know nothing? That's a bit...
Ever since the lawyer came out and said there was all a load of, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I was watching...
We're all sorry for her.
I was watching the documentary and it was all... Something was triggering I remember something, and maybe they should have brought this up in the court case.
What is it?
In Tintin in the Cigars of the Pharaoh, drugs are planted on Tintin in a similar way to the way
the boogie board.
Thompson & Thompson, you know them.
Of course.
They're the guys in the bowler hats. Your name is Tintin. Of course. We arrest you in the name of the law. Zoink! Question mark coming out of his head.
Good.
You arrest me? You must be joking. Joking? When I should have done their voice as posh Englishmen to start with.
Yeah, but go on. We can manage.
Joking. When we open one of those drawers, boogie board bag, you'll see what sort of joke this is. There, someone tipped us the wink, and how right they were. Narcotics. That's heroin. And then Tintin, next morning, because he's locked away, Chappelle Corby style, who could have planted drugs in my cabin?
So it all came out of the comic.
Snowy the dog, a la Australia, smells fishy.
Aha. So
I think you should have...
this came from the book, direct, obviously. It's straight out of the book. In fact, this may be a film that's being made, like the Truman Story, isn't it? This mightn't be reality at all.
Did you notice that Mr. Corby in the documentary pulled the old trying to get off the hook by drawing attention to the George Bush, Halliburton...
Conspiracy?
Yes.
I mean, corrupt connection.
Yeah, where apparently anyone can do anything at all. You can push people into traffic and then it's like, oh, why did you push that person in front of the car? It's like, oh, well, why are you wasting your time with... When George Bush is like... killed 100,000 Iraqis, and you're having a go at me for pushing someone in front of a car?
Yeah, it's the Bush-Halliburton defence.
Yes, the Bush-Halliburton defence. Mr. Corby did pull that in during the documentary. Why are they so worried about Chappelle?
Why did you watch the documentary? Now, you've made me nervous now because
Fantastic.
I said
Whoever
to
made
myself,
that, well done.
Yeah? I looked on the paper and it said blah, blah, and I said, would John Safran watch this thing? And I said, no, he wouldn't, and therefore I didn't.
I almost had a functional interaction with, dear listener, I have a social problem where even with my best friends, I can't catch up with them unless there's some other thing going on, for work.
Yep.
So even my dad, because he does like my bookkeeping and stuff, so like I don't catch up. It's like, oh, Dad, let's hang out and
and do the books together.
Yeah, that's what we have to do, and so we come so our relationship goes through work.
So social dysfunction.
Yes, and even with my best... In fact, more with my best friends it's like that. But Jeremy, I went over to his place to watch the Chappelle, and we just sat almost like just normal people would sit there with no excuse.
How do you think that came about?
I don't know.
Because you had a box of scallywags between you.
I did say to him, I go...
They might be narcotics.
I kept on saying, listen, if you want to go to bed, like, I can watch this at home.
Yeah.
And he said, no, don't worry about it.
Oh, well, you can't say that to people, for God's sake, when you go over to their place to watch a movie and say, would you like to go to bed?
Serena Williams will not be voting for Barack Obama or anyone. You know why?
He's not black enough.
No, because she's a Joho, a Jehovah's Witness.
Aha.
And Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote because it's all let God sort it out. It's like, don't get involved, God's going to... But where does that end? Like...
Doesn't end.
Like, don't get out of your bunk in the morning because God will... Like, just wait for sort of like the bed to collapse around you.
Yeah, no, they must have a road map, I think, a road map. Because you can't have blood transfusions. We all know that from the various movies we've watched. Poor child dies because parents won't let drug transfusions. State comes in and says, get out of the way, parents. We will act in loco parentis and we will force you to have blood transfusion. Or we'll force feed you if you won't eat.
In Uyghur news...
Oh, yes, that's your club.
Chinese authorities in Xinjiang, that's the what the Chinese call East Turkestan.
Yes, exactly.
The Chinese authorities have demolished a mosque, because, of course, the Uyghurs are Muslim, for refusing to put up signs in support of this or the Beijing Olympics. An exiled group has said.
You may well become the patron of the what is it, the Uyghurs?
You can't convert.
No.
We will talk more
sensibly, hopefully.
We're going to talk to the
to
rabbi
your friends
and the guy who looks like a rabbi.
Well, the guy, excuse me,
about the Jewish roots of the Incredible Hulk and other comic book superheroes. After this.
Too Much to Do by Sparkapia. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J. Look at this car sticker.
But sponsor a line for World Youth Day. That's the secular people.
Yeah. 300,000 Christians in one stadium.
That's from the Secular Party of Australia, secular.org.au.
And it was left here on my desk.
They're after you.
You see what I mean?
Father Bob.
What?
I think ABC Television should run advertisements.
Yes. Everybody has to run advertisements for the sake of income.
I was hoping for a fight, but if you want to...
Well, I'm not an old fuddy-duddy. I'm 74, but it doesn't mean to say that I've gone dead in the head.
But this is why I reckon ABC Television, dear listener, just listen to my logic.
All right.
ABC Television should run television ads. Because if you watch Australian television... it's very Anglo-Saxon, very white. I'm saying all the hosts, of the current affair shows and the news shows and the game shows, very, 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 very heavily Anglo-Saxon, right? And I'm not including SBS in that.
No.
But, I'm including ABC Television. Like, if you watch a night of ABC Television, you might start off with Kerry O'Brien, followed by...
Alan
Pete Burner,
Jones.
Followed by, Tony Jones.
And his replacement, Ms. whoever.
Yeah, so ABC's in the same boat as the commercial. Okay, fine. We've established that. In contrast, TV ads, like for all the big companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, seem to have become, really multicultural.
Yes.
So... Or Virgin Mobile. So just say you're watching some Pepsi ad or some Virgin Mobile ad. It's like five funky young people, and there's an Asian there, and there's a black guy there, and even like Woolworths. If you watch that, there's some, there's some large-nosed Turk or something, cutting up things. So so it's not an exception. It seems to be the rule.
Not in Bunnings though.
You've never seen.
They're all white Anglo-Saxons. Go on.
Anyway, so my point being that seeing advertising land is so ahead of television land, what that means is if you watch an evening of Channel 9, you see multicultural Australia over the course of the evening. But not by the Channel 9 TV shows, but by the ads that break it up.
Thank you.
Channel 7 the same. But because ABC television doesn't have ads, all you've got is a freaking wasp factory.
Right.
It's white,
Australia.
white. So, seeing
you're morally bound to put multicultural ads on.
So until ABC stops its whites-only hiring policy, which it doesn't seem to want to, I say ads on the ABC.
Yeah, that's well reasoned. I think that's almost indisputable, the way you've put it, John. Thanks for that.
Did you see...
What brought that on, by the way? I mean, were you...
I've got to do the making of documentary now, like the DVD extra of how...
I'd like to go behind the scenes.
Yes. Okay,
behind the Safran mine to see if there's anything there.
If you must
did you take offence one night while you watched ABC television?
No, this is how it worked out in my head, because something always niggled with me about ABC television, watching it, that didn't niggle, and I kept on going, it doesn't make any sense. It niggled with me. I was going, it's so white, but then I was like, how does that make sense? Because it's like, on Channel 9, all the presenters are white, so why am I in my head thinking it's so white on the ABC compared to... So I work backwards from that. If you must know the documentary...
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
The making of the DVD commentary.
So there was a conspiracy
anecdote.
Theory there.
Yes.
Which you won't admit to anywhere else in the world.
No.
Including the Twin Towers. But the ABC, obviously, is conspiring to keep multicultural faces away from the... thanks for that.
Did you watch on Today Tonight? And they sent a camera crew down to Video Dogs, this cool alternative video shop where they have all the cool alternative DVDs and stuff, and because he stuck a sign up on the outside saying, "Oh, you can work here if you work here for like an afternoon or whatever, kiddies. You can hire DVDs for free." And apparently that's not what the union wants, and there's child labour and anti-children being sent up chimney sweeping laws that required. Anyway, so the ABC, not the ABC, the Today Tonight crew turned up. It was really awkward because the guy, he was poking his head out, and anyway, that night afterwards, I don't even know why I said that part of it. That night afterwards, I was invited to a party. It wasn't my party. It was like I was invited to a party of a friend, and I went. It happened to be above the Video Dogs place. I now wish I didn't put in that detail at the start because the subsequent story has nothing to do with that. But I
want to know about the bloke poking his head out of something.
Well,
but no, good. Look, don't lose your train of thought, for God's sake.
You know how, like, sometimes, like, you know, like, you don't want to be sarcastic if you're hurting people's feelings? Like, you've got to draw the line somewhere, right? It's not like you be like, I don't think I would be sarcastic to, like, about a woman's appearance. Like, I wouldn't go up to a woman if she was round and go and make some, like, sarcastic comment about it. Like, it's just not, you know, why would you be that malicious and mean-spirited, right? No. There's just things you don't make. I'm going to make a list of things that, even though I like to be sarcastic, I'm not going to be sarcastic. Yeah, I'm just going to rule it out because it hurts people's feelings.
Excuse me, madam, could you move out of my way because I can't get round you?
You see, I wouldn't do that. No. So in the same way that my brain is programmed, like, I've never in my life made a sarcastic comment to a woman about being round. Never. It's because I just know, even though I like to be sarcastic, that it's just not right. So I'm going to make a list of things I'm never going to be sarcastic about so I don't get into trouble and hurt people's feelings. Because I was at this party above the Video Dogs that was on Today Tonight, and I didn't know the girl whose party it was. And I started just to kind of have conversation, like started being sarcastic about the lack of people who'd turned up to the party.
Oh, yes.
and I thought, but I was just being really... I didn't say that to be mean. I was, like, saying it to be, like, jokey. Yes. Like, that was my intention, to kind of form a bond with this person.
What did you say?
I was just going... Because someone else came and said... And I said, who's that?
3 of us are here.
No. There were enough people there. There were about a dozen. It was pretty early on. It was like 10 p.m, so there didn't have to be that many people there. And there were enough... There was like a dozen people there. But then, like, some other guy came in, and I said, who's that? And she said, I don't know who that is. It must be... And I said... Do you have any friends? Like, or is everyone here just someone you don't know? But I didn't mean to be... But then it was, like, too late. And then I was talking to...
The horse had bolted.
And I was talking to people afterwards, and they were saying, John, you don't understand that, like, a person's at their most volatile if they've hosted a party at about the 10 p.m. thing where no one's turned up yet. And you just...
And you hit the nail on the head, obviously.
Yeah, you don't make jokes about it because it's just too hurtful.
Yes.
So...
you don't know who that one is.
Because she made a snipey little comment as I left about how, like, obnoxious I was. So can I apologise to the girl whose party was above the Video Dog shop that was on Today Tonight?
Yeah.
Because I really was just... I'm sure people turned up later anyway.
What time did you leave?
No, straight away. There's no one there.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Anyway, you're probably wondering why...
What are we drawing this...
why are we dragging it out? Because apparently the rabbi...
missing rabbi.
Who was going to talk about the comic book...
He'll do. That fellow walking past the window.
He's got lost. We've got a missing rabbi running around ABC studios. Anyway, hopefully after this song, we will have corralled him into the studio.
Or one of us will imitate the missing rabbi. Zeph and Azim with Play the Drum, John. Triple J on Safran on Sunday.
Ooh, it looks like suddenly you're in a bit of a ethnic minority.
Yeah, I've got 3 of yous.
3 of the children of Israel versus 1 of you.
Yes.
Now, joining us, we couldn't have a more kind of pumped up... What's the word? I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I'll just move on.
Enthusiastic.
No, like...
Passionate.
If you're looking into the Jewish roots of comic books, we couldn't be more well equipped for this discussion.
No.
Joining us is Rabbi Shamir Caplan, who is a chaplain of Mount Scopus College and a rabbi at Bet Haron Synagogue.
Yeah, that's right.
And also Bernard Korbman, executive director of the Jewish Holocaust Centre, but also big comic book fan. And they've both recently talked at a conference about the Jewish roots of comic book superheroes. thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Where shall we? Can you sound a bit more enthusiastic? Imagine it's a Tom and Jerry comic.
We could do the sound effects of the
yes.
comics. Pow.
Now,
the
fiction book Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon, that implies that Jewish immigrants played a key role in creating American comic book superheroes. Is this accurate?
100%, 100%. And there's a real logic to why that is, and it's a sad story actually, because Jews were finding it hard in those times, in the early 30s, to break into, I guess, what we call mainstream media. So if they wanted to be illustrators of magazines, or if they wanted to get their own newspaper comic, they were finding as Jews that the doors weren't quite open to them. So this new genre appeared of comic books, which are their separate publications, and a lot of those were started by Jews who otherwise weren't able to publish more mainstream things. So
because back then they were considered just worthless by mainstream society. They weren't considered, important like they are now. Comic books.
You mean? Oh, I don't know if you read the Jews of the comic books.
No, the comic books.
I think they were they were a separate, independent, alternative kind of a thing. They weren't. I don't even know when the first comic book was actually invented. Maybe Bernard knows it. Do you know?
The comic book goes back a fair way, and even started. You could say that some of the people during the French Revolution, the artists, etc., started that sort of genre. But in a big way, it was really about the 30s in the United States.
So Superman and Batman, were they created by these Jewish imaginations?
Most certainly, yes, 100%. But the funny thing about Batman is that one of his originators is known as Bill Kane, but his original name was Khan, which is a very
Jewish name.
You snicker because you know. It's a very Jewish name, so yeah. They tried to hide it, I think. I don't think any of this was a conscious Jewish conspiracy, but subconsciously, I think it was a very Jewish. It was certainly historically a product of the American Jewish story at that time, and I think subconsciously there was a lot of Jewish themes in a lot of what they were doing.
So, for example, in Superman or Batman, what are some Jewish themes?
Well, let's talk about Superman and just the image of Superman. He comes from an alien planet that's being destroyed, and he's sent in this rocket ship for salvation to a safer place. And in that way, it's a very Moses-like metaphor of being put in the basket and sent down the river for safety when his society, the Jews in Egypt, were.
I thought you were going to say because in Europe that they were all getting killed and stuff, and then they came to America.
That's right. Well, some people make the connection to the Kindertransports, where the parents sent their kids on trains to what they hoped was safe haven to escape Nazi Germany. That was also some of the ideas. This is 1938, and that where Superman appears, and that's about 5 years after Hitler becomes chancellor. It's 3 years after the Nuremberg laws are in Germany. So there was this real sense of Jews are in major trouble, and on some level that was understood in America. And they were looking for heroes. They were looking for people that didn't exist in reality, unfortunately.
Now, did the Incredible Hulk rip off the Golem?
100%.
You don't have to give much background to Golem. We can't stop talking about the Golem on this show. But the Golem is a mystical clay man.
Yes, that's right.
Or maybe not mystical. Maybe a real clay guy that the Kabbalah rabbis were able to animate to life. And so the Incredible Hulk, based on the Golem, there is posit?
100%. There's an interesting book, can I mention, by Simcha Weinstein, which told me everything I ever wanted to know about superheroes. And that's got to be one of the best titles of a book about anything Jewish ever, and that is Up, Up, and Oy Vey.
That's a good name.
That is a great name. Isn't that fantastic? And so, anyway, he in there he has actually a copy, a beautiful color copy of a cover of one of the Incredible Hulks, and it says "The Incredible Hulk in the shadow of the Golem." That's explicit. That's on the cover of the.
Wow.
That was the cover of the magazine. So
there seem to be a few comic book heroes based on the Golem. Maybe like the Thing.
The Thing again is based on the Golem, and not only that, but as time went on, and Jews became much more self-assured and so on, and as society changed, and we didn't have the theme during the 30s and 40s of assimilation, which was much of what American Jewish boys wanted to do. In one of them, it does say that under every Jewish boy there was a suit of spandex or something, where the superhero was under every sort of Hasidic garb. But the thing, for example, when integration was more in and then multiculturalism, in one of the episodes, the thing goes back to his hometown, and he sees a body lying on the ground, and he thinks that the person is about to die, and he can't give the person CPR because he's too heavy and he might crush him, and realizes that this is a guy he knew from his youth, and so he recites the Shema, and quite openly. And
the Shema is a Jewish prayer.
That's correct.
I should have told you, most of our listeners are not children of Israel.
And by the way, you're not totally outnumbered here. I was brought up as a Catholic for a couple of years of my life, so we have to. Yeah.
You saw the light.
I was given a light, not for a cigarette, although I did smoke, but never mind. So he recites the Shema and recites both lines, not just the first line, which is common. And then also in the Marvel comics later on, one of the superhero ladies loses her boyfriend, Colossus, and she recites Kaddish, the prayer that's said when someone dies. So the Jewish aspect of the comic books does go on as the generations went on.
It becomes more explicit the more Jews themselves felt comfortable, taking their own masks off. That was so much behind the idea of Superman was a foreigner in a strange land. So just like the Jews felt in the States for, I guess, the immigrants did anyway. And Batman is always, the idea of the mask. And the Jews had to, in the 60s when it was this more of an openness, the Jews felt comfortable expressing that Jewishness, more
Chabon,
openly.
in his book on the comics,
Yes, Michael Chabon
does a spin where, in fact, the comics are being published with the Nazis shown as the heroes and overcoming whatever, presumably the Jewish whatever.
Conspiracy, yeah.
Spin that, and they say, listen, what about we depict the Nazis as being the monsters and the US of A being the Great White Hope, and the success of the comic comes with that.
That's
but
right.
Would that be historically true, or is that only a Chabon spin?
Well, Joseph Goebbels, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm not sure if I can. He's the, sort of the chief Nazi minister of propaganda. He actually, in a meeting, he stood up once when seeing that in one of the Superman episodes, they actually have Superman fighting the Nazis, right? This was not an uncommon thing, to have them actually fighting people in World War II. And he stands up and he says famously in this meeting, Superman is a Jew. And he thought this was like a Jewish-American conspiracy.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was, but certainly the Nazis were convinced of that.
Yes, the graphic novel has taken over, presumably. Well, it was always there, wasn't it, the graphic novel? Is the graphic novel, in fact, a comic?
No, it's slightly different. The graphic novel now is a comic. Probably the greatest graphic novelist is Willie Eisner, again a Jewish guy who wrote about the immigrant experience, and he wrote this fantastic trilogy of what it was like to be brought up in the slums of New Jersey or New York as a Jewish kid. And his last book, just before he died, was to, in graphic form, explain the conspiracy of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. So, but since then, what's his name, wrote Mouse.
Art Spiegelman.
Spiegelman, that's right.
That was the story set in World War II where the Jews were the mice and the cats were the Nazis.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, that, in fact, more than being a narrative of the Holocaust, is really much more a look at the second generation and the Holocaust survivor parent and their relationship and the psychological and emotional problems between them. So it's become a very strong art form in itself. But taking it even further, even Batman and the X-Men play an amazing role. The X-Men have a lot of references to the Holocaust. The most evil villain in the X-Men, Magneto, is evil because when he was a boy, he was in Auschwitz, and he says in there, I lost my faith in God, and humanity, and therefore humanity does not exist, and so he wants to get rid of them. And in the X-Men, they have things like the Senate debates whether the mutants, like Wolverine and others, should actually be registered or not. So you have the idea of the Jews being registered. They have a special sentinels who are robots who go around like Gestapo picking up the mutants and so on. So those areas are certainly there.
Now, all the white supremacists aren't going to be happy where, according to this Thor, the Nordic guy, he was also created by Jewish comic book makers?
Yeah. All these guys were. And again, it really depends often on when it was, because, as I said, at one stage there was the wanting of fitting in and so on. And the idea, look, as a school teacher, what was really interesting for me when I used to teach art, I taught it at Richmond High School, no longer there, but it was 92% non-English speaking. And I would say to my younger students in Year 7, for example, draw what you consider to be a beautiful girl or beautiful woman, and I was always amazed at whether the girls came from Vietnam or were Greek or Muslim. They drew Barbie dolls. And that seems to be the concept of beauty. And I think that one of the reasons for that sort of muscular, blonde, blue-eyed thing is part of that as well.
Walt Disney himself was Jewish?
No. Could you get it any more wrong, Father Bob?
Well, I mean, he's asking the question.
No.
Mickey Mouse?
I don't think he was circumcised.
Donald Duck?
No, Bruce.
No circumcision.
They are after
No.
the 40s.
No, Donald Duck, in fact, there is a fantastic comic of Donald Duck fighting Hitler. It's a very, very funny comic strip.
See how I segued from the unknown to the known?
From the absolutely factually incorrect to the vaguely correct. Thank you very much, Rabbi Shamir Caplan, who, of course, everyone can catch you down at Beit Aaron Synagogue. And thank you, Bernard Korbman, comic book fan, and everyone can catch you at the Jewish Holocaust Centre. And, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Death Cab for Cutie with No Sunlight, John. The Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
In fact, Walt Disney, Father Bob,
yes,
he was possibly on the other side. But it's a bit unfair. How bad luck is this? Walt Disney was a member of the American Nazi Party.
Oh, God.
But before like all that
before the
stuff went down in Poland, and so like in the 30s, like before everyone knew how bad,
Well, did he swap? Did he become
I think he
friend
left
of the Jews?
No, I think he left the American Nazi Party. Oh, well.
So you would say my comment was inappropriate?
No, just factually incorrect. Now, speaking of popular culture and religion, there's been sort of like semi-controversy about the new Mike Myers film. He's, of course, the guy who does Austin Powers and Wayne's World. Yeah. And his new one's called Love Guru, which is about a Hindu guru, goes from India, comes to America because he wants to get on Oprah Winfrey. And all this hoo-ha before it came out, like, was it going to be offensive to to Hindus and so on and so forth. But some Hindus say it is offensive, others say it's not. But everyone seems to think, whilst I was recent, it's just totally bombed the film, and it's the most negatively reviewed film I've ever seen.
Get Smart looks as though it's going to be negatively.
But this is like because I guess it's all about karma. Maybe you can work me through this, Father Bob.
Oh yes, I'll help you to work through this.
Is this wrong? Because when I started reading about Mike Myers and Love Guru, and then I read like one bad review, and it was like fascinating because it was such a hostile review. So then I read another one, and then I really got into it, and then I just typed in Michael Myers plus review plus Love Guru and I read every last one. I was like relishing it, and I was feeling like I became addicted to read because they're the most brutal, hostile reviews I've ever read from people really loathe this film. And so do I get in some karmic problem by relishing and reading this kind of
there's a toxic
this car crash thing?
There.
Or is it okay? Because then I got really desperate. Then I'd read every last negative review And I still wanted more. I was addicted to it, watching this, like the train wreck of Mike Myers. And then so I typed in Mike Myers plus a-hole, but the full word. And then I found out all this other stuff about, all this negative stuff about Mike Myers and what a blah. And I feel like it's going to come back to haunt me.
So you've overdosed on Mike Myers?
Yeah, well, yeah, I became addicted. I spent like an hour just
you
reading.
have to stuff yourself with more scallywags.
I feel like it's going to come back to haunt
Well,
me.
when we interview the lady about the honey, we may well be able to get a prescription for her, from her, about your addiction.
We'll talk more after this.
Folds with Balloons, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Varg Vikernes news.
Where's that?
Varg Vikernes. You know Varg Vikernes, lead singer of Burzum.
Oh, of course.
Norwegian black metal.
Oh, yeah, that lot was on Eurovision. On, what do you call it?
No,
No,
they weren't. Back in the 90s, Varg Vikernes, lead singer of Norwegian black metal band Burzum, burnt down some old churches in Norway.
Oh, I couldn't be further from the truth.
Thrown in jail, and he went up for parole last week because he's serving a 21-year sentence, and denied he was trying to get out. They denied him. They said he's too dangerous to be released into society.
What's wrong with the boy? What's wrong with him?
Well, he burnt down churches.
Yeah, I know, but what's he got? What's his beef?
Well, you got to read this book, Lords of Chaos, all about the Norwegian black metal scene.
Yeah. What, they
We've talked about this before. The problem is they were influenced by all these American metal bands, but they didn't get that the American metal bands were being theatrical.
Yeah.
So you got like Slayer and stuff, and they're like, you know, they've got all their blood-soaked
So they made it into an ideology or something.
Yeah, and they didn't get that sort of like that there was an aspect of kind of, you know, theatre and humour when the Americans did, and they took it all literally, and then they're forming all these black metal bands in Norway.
With no sense of humour.
Minus the self-awareness that they're being playful, and it all ended in people getting stabbed and
churches getting burnt down. But was he a good musician?
I don't really know. I didn't listen.
He fiddled while Rome burnt.
Bad luck, Varg Vikernes. Because apparently he got on some sort of semi-release a few years ago, and then he escaped and, like, got into some truck with a machine gun and stuff, so they had to, like, that didn't help him.
Now, you're always on my case about moral issues.
Yes.
I went to
brothel?
No, not a brothel.
Opium den.
No, a bakery last night, and I walked up to the bakery.
Tapping my nose,
and
yes,
I
bakery.
smiled at the girl at the counter, thinking I would, you know. And she said, "What are you smiling at?" See, which took the wind out of my... I said, everything. But she didn't, you know, she didn't play along with that at all.
Yes.
She was out for blood, this girl. And she only a little girl. She said, "Oh, yes." I said, "Listen," I took the bait. I'll talk to the boss. I fell straight into the net. I took offence.
You took a... What?
Yeah. And
you took offence at her saying you said you wanted to talk to the boss?
Yeah, I took offence at her saying, "What are you laughing at?"
But then you said, "I want to talk to your manager."
I would say, "What about if we talk to the boss?" See, I fell straight into it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then she said to me, "What do you mean? You mean the boss at the ABC? She must listen to the program." And I said, No, the boss of this bread shop. And then I thought to myself, this poor girl, she's got me by the shorts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I took me loaf of whatever it is, multigrain bread. She said, "What do you want? Do you want it plastic or paper?" I said, "Anything." She said, "Anything." She said, "I don't know that you're a real priest at all." And I thought to myself, well, this girl, what the hell is this from Actors Equity or something? You know, as Safran has set this Sheila up and sent her into me bread shop and said he'll turn up the old fool at 6 o'clock on Wednesday night and you've got to give him a hard time, the rough end of the pineapple. Like a little muppet, for God's sake. So I went home, I then had to tear the bread apart to see if there was iron filings in it or something. I ordered a bread that was, what do you call it, multigrain and seeded. I said to myself, this Sheila's out after me. So I don't know. What would I do? What would you do, John? You're the expert in the mores.
I'd get...
Hello, Mr. Safran. What would you like tonight?
I would have, taken it on and been bitter about it for a decade.
Oh, kept it,
and
nursed it.
Nursed it. And then, when it was convenient, bang,
Well, worse than that happened then. I went into the supermarket, you see, and I smiled again. I said, I'll try this again, because I'm sure that was an anomaly. And the Sheila looked at me, she was lining up to go through the checkout thing, and I was smiled at her, and then she grinned at me, more or less, scowled at me, and she said, no, I said, I'm not looking at you. Oh, she said, no, you'd be looking at the boy next to me. What the? I thought, here's a double whammy. Within 15 minutes, I've been dudded. I said, Safran's working overtime. Look at this. So I tell you, the night wasn't very good for me. So the dog went without his goodos.
What about some of the multigrain loaf for the dog?
Gone. I had to throw it into the rubbish tin in case it contained iron filings or even an iron, what do you call it, a file itself. Anyway, that's my contribution to the morality tale of the night.
Father Bob, get in your best Andrew Denton enough rope mode, because you are going to be leading this next interview with Grace Pundyk.
Yeah.
All about honey.
Yeah, the honey spinner. You Looked So Good by Claire Bowditch. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us in a small box in Port Macquarie is Grace Pundyk, author of The Honey Spinner, On the Trail of the Ancient Honey, Vanishing Bees and the Politics of Liquid Gold. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, John. How are you?
Now, usually I do the heavy lifting in the interviews, and then Father Bob just chucks in some inane thing about the 7-minute mark. But do you know Father Bob was a beekeeper?
I'm impressed.
So therefore, in this particular dynamic, I'm handing it over to him.
Oh, the book.
You're basically Andrew Denton.
Am I?
For the next, whatever,
interviewing
5 to 7
David
minutes.
Attenborough.
Yes, and so you take over this and I'll just interrupt.
Beautiful book, Grace.
Thank you, Father Bob. Now, do I call you Father Bob?
Call me Bob, call me anything.
Bob, Father, Dad?
Mother, anything.
Okay.
Anything, Queen Bee.
Queen Bee?
Anything like that.
Now,
you and I know
bee.
something that the others don't know, Grace.
Do we?
Yep. What do we know? And that is the stickiest of all substances is honey. But in fact, Grace, you and I both know that it is soluble in water.
Well, it is.
And in fact, it is easily removed from any surface.
That's true.
Now, that's the depth of the interview, Grace.
And you're going to hand me over to John now?
No.
Can I ask you something about, the Al-Qaeda? Think of the things that are
I'm thinking of the Russian mafia.
Okay, that's good.
She's been everywhere, this girl. She's been to Turkey, for God's sake. She comes from Tasmania. I have in my hand, Grace, a small jar of Tasmanian leatherwood.
Bob, can you ask her how
honey.
the mafia is connected to the honey interesting?
First of all, we start from the known and get to the unknown.
Yeah, that's right, John. Just be patient, please.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Isn't it? Tasmanian leatherwood is
Tasmanian,
one of your
yes. And what's the leatherwood? What brand is it?
I can't answer that. Because it's in an ordinary unmarked jar.
It's a
hybrid.
A clean skin.
A clean skin. And I've already given people, I made a fool of myself on the way into the studio by taking the lid off and offering strangers a smell of this honey.
And did they like it?
They liked it. They said, excuse me.
Just ask her about the mafia.
Mafia, the Russian mafia, for God's sake.
What about it?
Well, they were suspected of being, in fact, making a terrible lot of money out of honey.
Well, actually, when I went to Russia, I had a lead that the mafia were involved in the honey industry, and the fact that the mayor of Moscow, Yuri Lushkov, is actually an avid beekeeper, as is the president of the Ukraine, and that the woman that I met, one of Russia's top bee scientists, has a direct line to the Kremlin, does suggest that there's some connections there. However, when I got there, there was a whole different story that I discovered and that I experienced. And so, because I was a little bit worried, I was thinking, now, how am I going to follow this up? Am I going to go and stand in the Red Square and say, excuse me, do you know anyone in the mafia that I can talk to about honey? So it was a little bit of a touchy
sticky,
subject.
I think
it
we'd
was
say.
very sticky, yes. So the Russian chapter became, it was a surprise. And it will be a surprise to whoever reads it.
So what, you're not going to give that away for free?
No.
What?
No, ask me about something else.
Okay.
It's books.
Ask
What
her-
we're
ask her
making...
about Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan.
Well, I actually travelled to Yemen.
Don't tell me that they get the pollen from the poppies,
No.
the heroin poppies, and you have produced a line of heroin...
Opium honey.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be interesting. No. There's a standing joke in Yemen that if you are a honey trader, you've been to Afghanistan to fight. And Yemen has the largest national contingent in Guantanamo Bay. So I was really interested in looking at the link between jihad and honey. The CIA reckon that there's a connection with two honey companies in Yemen, Al-Shifa and Al-Nur honey companies, and that they were connected with Al-Qaeda and were laundering money through their honey companies, as well as smuggling weapons through honey, with honey, by honey, in honey.
Now, there's more to this book,
precision.
of course, John, if you don't mind.
I know,
Apart from
sensational.
political conspiracies, there's really interesting things as well.
Well,
You know, like
ask her about them.
colony collapse
Disorder.
disorder.
Or disappearing act, as the Americans like to call it.
Yes. And is it the result of mobile phones used all over the world and disturbing bees signalling to one another?
Well, this is the really interesting
Or is it a
thing.
virus?
It
Grace,
could be a number of things.
Please give us a background to this whole thing, because I'm not sure all our listeners
Our listeners are
understand it.
intelligent, Grace.
Okay, the book is called The Honey Spinner, as you know.
Yes.
What sort of a background do you want?
No, about the whole dead bee thing.
Yeah, well, I was just about to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, it seemed like you were starting
You
midway.
were really impatient,
No,
aren't you?
sorry, no.
What's he like to
he's
work with, Father
I'm
Bob?
only the anchor, you know.
Right. Yeah, okay. So can I continue?
Yep.
All right. So the problem with colony collapse disorder is that in countries like the United States, but also I found when I was in northeastern Turkey, which is really remote and cold and wet, as well as parts of Europe, bees are disappearing. And no one knows why. Scientists are saying maybe it's mobile phones, maybe it's GM genetically modified crops, maybe it's pollution, maybe it's stressing the bees too much to make them overwork for pollination services and blah, 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 blah. No one really knows. Maybe it's the varroa mite, which Australia hasn't got. But across, all around the world, bees are just disappearing. The hives, there might be bees, there might be honey in the hives, and then within a week, they've just gone. They're not there.
Billions of honeybees around the world.
That's right. Yeah. Is that enough of a background?
Now, what
John?
about that Greek bloke?
So what's your theory? What did you find out?
Well, I thought it was really interesting. At the end of the book, I attended Apimondia, which is a sort of a biannual conference of beekeepers and bee researchers and honey people galore around the world. And last year it was held in Melbourne. And there was a roundtable discussion with 11 of the world's most eminent bee scientists, all talking about colony collapse disorder, and none of them had anything conclusive. They had suspects, but that was it. And I just think that, look, I'm not an expert. I just started this journey because I like honey, but it just seemed to be, for example, in northeastern Turkey, it's very cold, it's very remote. They don't have huge commercial honey operations, or, you know, every house will have one or two hives, but that's about it. There's no mobile towers. I didn't have any mobile signal where I was. And I think that is a different problem there, that perhaps it's varroa, which is this really problematic mite. But also I think that the indigenous bee in the region is... so there's the Apis mellifera is a honeybee, right? And there's so many different varieties of Apis mellifera. And the indigenous bee there is the Apis mellifera Kaufkas bee, the Caucasian bee. Now, the Caucasian bee likes cold climate. It's got a very long nose so that it can reach the deep-throated flowers that grow in that region. It doesn't mind rain, and it never stops raining there. But what's happened with the introduction of the Italian honeybee, which is most commonly used around the world these days by beekeepers, the Italian honeybee hates the rain, it hates the cold, and it's really hard to keep that bee now out of that region. So I think that's a possibly a separate issue, combination of varroa weakening the hives, but then the Italian honeybee just can't cope with the weather. And then the weather's changing as well.
We can talk about these mysterious and sacred creatures all night.
Well...
But, Grace, we can't.
Okay.
So
what else do you want to know?
Oh, nothing. We want to read the book.
Okay.
The Honey Spinner.
You're right.
Bob, can you thank Grace for me?
Grace, I'm more than I would love to talk with you right through the night and right through another night.
Well, I'd like to know a little bit about your experiences with juju, or was it voodoo, John?
Yes, but another program.
I'll come on your radio show. I'll come down to your bee
in Tassie.
Well, I've got my own juju experience to share with you.
I'll turn up there. You know me. I'll be the one with the bee beard walking on in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
TZU with Got to Do.
This is Sunday Night Safran with John Safran and Father Bob.
Father Bob.
Yes, mate.
You were talking about Disney before. Let's widen it up so people don't accuse us, our show of being Catholic and Jew-centric.
Yes.
A Sikh musician who sued Walt Disney gets support from National Sikh Group. A Broward Country, wherever that is, musician who sued Walt Disney World last week claiming the Disney look of grooming is a form of religious discrimination, is getting backing from the National Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund. He sued Disney, claiming that the theme park company refused to rehire him in 2006 because his beard, long hair and his turban, which he contends is religiously mandated. So what do you reckon?
Well, it might catch in a machine and fling him.
Oh, so you're
with
against...
centripetal force.
So suddenly Sikhs aren't allowed to be hired at Disneyland?
Dangerous. People with long hair can't be hired in some factories.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's wrap your head up in a...
but it's wrapped up in a turban.
I know. But you could make the point and say the turban might undo, and then you would say, no, it won't undo because it is affixed skillfully.
Okay, that's enough about other religions besides our two.
Well, I'm sorry about the Disney thing.
I got this in the mail today.
Yes.
I think you have to read this because you've been trying to get me on board with your religion for a while.
What's it say?
Sneakily trying to brainwash me into abandoning my Jewish roots that go back 5,000 years.
Well, at least hold 2 membership cards
and embracing your Christ, I believe you call him.
What's it called? You bring the bagels, I'll bring the gospel. Sharing the Messiah, is it? Sharing the Messiah with your Jewish neighbour.
So this is a book that
by
they
a Jewish gentleman.
Jews for Jesus, gentlemen.
Hello.
So this is a book they've put out, dear listener.
We haven't been there for a while.
For people like Bob, about what to do if you have a Jewish neighbour and you're Christian, of trying to convince your Jewish neighbour to embrace Jesus. Look. Can you please read out chapter 1 and also describe the illustration?
Catching fish for the Messiah. Is that what it says?
Yes.
It's the perfect time to drop your line. And you've got the boy hanging out the window with the fishing line. His mat in front of his door says welcome. The mat in front of the door next door says shalom. There's a boy looking very fearful behind the window of next door. And my Christian friend with the fishing rod has dropped his line onto the shalom mat.
I try to sum that up, but I probably couldn't sum it up even more. No. The author shows us how to reach our Jewish friends or co-workers in a loving, non-confrontational manner.
With a fishing line.
You bring the bagels, I'll bring the gospel, outlines unique insight into understanding Jewish religions and culture and provides guidelines for breaking through barriers to belief.
Not nice.
You don't like it?
Don't like any of that. Can't see why anybody has to swap from one to another. Don't understand that.
Well, if you're not going to fight to me about that, I'm just going to have to fight with the guest book. Now, there was something on the guest book this week.
We'll fight with the next guest.
Can you please cover me for 1 second?
Yes, I'll cover you for the next second. I don't like fighting with people on radio programs, and I'm classified as being too soft. John Safran, on the other hand, has got a reputation of being a gonzo interviewer. So he, in fact, reveals hidden weaknesses in his guests.
Stop talking. I think blank silence will be better than that.
Right.
You know what? A person cover me for...
Yes, and he...
Oh, here we go.
Hello.
Angus. This is from Angus.
Yep.
John, 3 exclamation marks. Despite your feeble attempts to hide and discredit this certain aspect of your past, it seems your loyal employer is happily willing to shine the spotlight on your undeniable devotion to conservatism. 4 exclamation marks. This from your bio, only a couple of clicks from Sunday Night Safran's site on the ABC interview program Two Shots website. So that was a show that was on years ago on the ABC. And then from my bio, he played a very active role in student politics, founding the Latrobe Young Liberals. And then there's a link. The ABC doesn't lie, Safran. You've been exposed a la Belinda Neal. Andrew Bolt was right all along. Well, dear Angus, I think you should draw attention to this article that was out this week. Failing exams passed, blamed on Wikipedia littered with inaccuracies. And it's about how in Scotland there's been this falling exam pass rates, and the Scottish Parent Teachers Council says pupils are turning to website and internet resources that contain inaccurate or deliberately misleading information before passing it on as their own work. I don't know how true that is, but see, Angus, you shouldn't trust everything you see on the internet. Because
but it isn't, in fact, one of the weaknesses of your internet. Is that
you see, you can't even trust the ABC, because what happened was with that show, someone wrote this gag bio of me, which had all the... I didn't even understand. It was like failed comedy, and it was like all this stuff like I'd met with the Dalai Lama and I'd started the Latrobe Young Liberals and stuff.
And none of it was true.
Yeah, and then when the ABC show came out, they obviously, the website person just cut and pasted from that. And then, bang, became official on the ABC.
See? Isn't that one of the great weaknesses of your internet?
And I refuse to take it down because I like how it demonstrates my point about the internet.
All right, tell the old man briefly.
What?
How do you take things down when they're posted and they're wrong?
No, you can't. Oh, you can complain.
To whom?
Well, in this case, I could probably, ring up someone from the ABC. No, you probably can't.
But not to the service provider, not to the... This is the man who runs the satellite.
Bob,
It's boring, all
boring.
right.
It's not so much that it's boring. It's like we're both uninformed about it. Why?
I thought you were informed because you were wired, man.
We sound uninformed about things we're really informed about. Imagine if we go into this, internet service provider, whatever the hell that even means. We'll just...
So you're not a geek?
No, not in that way.
Righto.
But I do play Scrabble.
Yeah, but I'll remember not to raise any questions like that again.
But not Scrabulous. We're going to be talking to a Singapore Hindu heavy metal band from Singapore after this.
Fruit Machine by the Ting Tings.
Religious Song of the Week.
Joining us from Singapore is Katia from the Vedic metal band Rudra. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Now, first of all, tell us what Rudra, the name of your band, what does that word mean?
The word Rudra is actually a Sanskrit word, which is an epithet for famous Lord Shiva, the god of destruction in the Hindu pantheon. And
so why did you choose Rudra and not Hanuman or Ganesh?
I think because the symbol of, or rather it's symbolic of destruction, which is very much associated with heavy metal, being a very extreme genre of music. So we thought perhaps the word Rudra would be an ideal name for a metal band that is going to play extreme metal.
And you're described as a Vedic metal band. What's the Veda?
The Vedas are actually the oldest Hindu scriptures, so to say, that inspired the what we call as modern Hinduism. So these ancient texts, they have they're rather more philosophical than the average Hindu practices that we see around us. So therefore, we adapted ourselves surrounding the philosophy of the Vedas. Therefore, we called ourselves a Vedic metal band.
Now, you're from Singapore. Now, Hindus, that's a minority in Singapore, aren't they?
Yeah. Hinduism is a minority in Singapore, you're right.
And how did your ancestors end up in Singapore?
In fact, our grandparents actually came from India. to Singapore, while all of us were born in Singapore. That's how we got here.
and Singapore, at least judging by all our preconceptions here in the West, is a very strict society where you get rapped over the knuckle with a cane if you're caught chewing gum on the streets.
Yeah.
How does Singapore's strictness impact on your heavy metalness? Like, do you feel restrictions, or are there places you can't play?
In fact, heavy metal is still quite frowned upon by by Singapore generally. But of late, I think the last 5 years have allowed us to play in many shows. In fact, it was a miracle, actually. We got invited to play in the Singapore Arts Festival about 4 years ago. That was kind of a breakthrough for a metal band to be playing in an arts festival. So things are changing, and I think people are getting more receptive to heavy metal. So that's good. And
the majority, they're Buddhist, but it's like Singapore's a secular state, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a secular state because the majority are Chinese Buddhists, or what we call as Taoist as well.
It's interesting. When I was reading about Singapore earlier on, I find it interesting that all these countries that have heavy Buddhist influences, whenever they're caught doing something wrong, no one negatively judges them as being a Buddhist country like they judge, countries that have Muslim leaders and so on.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, I mean, in spite of it being probably a majority Buddhist population, Singapore is very much secular. In fact, we call this society as a multicultural, multiracial, multi-religious society, where all religions are given equal opportunity to practice. So we don't see, although there is a majority, but somehow the majority does not weigh on the freedom of the rest.
And do your parents think it's okay to combine heavy metal with Hinduism?
Not really. They feel that it is something that perhaps is a little far too stretched.
But that's good because, like, in the West, it's like everyone's trying to be bad, but their parents just are tolerant of everything. It's good to have your parents fighting against you.
In fact, I mean, the fact is, I think it's got to do with the generation gap because where the early generation are pretty more orthodox, while the present generation, we are willing to break rules in spite of not compromising on the principles. We don't compromise on the principles, but we do break rules and become probably more relevant in a very modern environment.
Now, do you have to join the army in Singapore when you're 18?
Yes. I served the army for 2.5 years.
And was that fun? Did that impact on your music?
Yeah, it did. It did. I must say that it did because it would take a lot of time off, your practices with the band, and in that sense, yes, the 2.5 years did become sort of an obstacle, to our progress.
And
but somehow we managed. Yeah, we managed.
You must have been in the brass band in the army service. You changed bands from heavy metal to the British type brass band.
He's asking you whether you're in in the army band.
No, I was not in the army band.
And when are you going to be touring Australia?
We are writing our new album right now. We should be released in about 3 or 4 months. And we are looking down under, and probably we may be there probably by the end of the year, doing a short tour.
How exciting. I'll be there. I'll be jumping on stage and then jumping off the stage and then ripping off my top and cutting myself and everything. Now, what song are we going to be listening to?
You're going to listen to the Heartless Path to the Noble Unknown.
And give us the Vedic subtext to this one.
This particular song is about knowing that which is unknown to us, which is actually our own self, because we always seem to be trying to explore things that are outside, but we don't reflect on what we are or what I am. So this is what we call as the pathless path. And this unknown thing that is myself can be known if only a person puts the right effort. So this song is basically about that.
Thank you very much for joining us, Katia from Rudra.
Yeah, thank you. You're most welcome.
What do you think of that, mate?
I like it a lot.
You are a heavy metal man.
Occasionally. Not overload, but I do like
And did you understand what the man was saying?
Burzum.
Yes.
And I like Rudra.
Yes.
And I also like, for the life of me, I'm sorry, Iraqi heavy metal band, whose documentary about the Iraqi heavy metal band I saw only a few days ago.
Yeah.
I like them also.
Yeah. Well, what about the man telling us that this was, in fact, a religious song, a Vedic song?
Oh, that's right.
And probably was singing in what language would you think? I know you don't want to.
Sanskrit?
Would you?
Who knows?
Sanskrit?
I guess so. What else could it be? It could be Hindi, I guess. Who knows? Let's not make any calls
and they
on
sing those in the Hindu temples.
Hey, lots of action on the guest book about conspiracy theories.
Yes, you've pressed their button on that.
We had Damien Thompson, who was trying to debunk some conspiracy theories last week.
Yeah.
And I was looking on the internet, because there's a good game you can play with conspiracy theories. If you type in anything wrong with the world plus Jew, and there will be a conspiracy theory that wrong thing about the world is because... So obviously you got like 9/11. It's like the Jews planned 9/11. But then you go into like other lesser conspiracy, like fluoride. Yeah. Type that in, and the Jews... The Jews
too?
Yes. And the vaccination thing...
Yeah.
Jewish doctors are in it, blah, blah, blah.
Global warming.
But anyway, I'm getting to a point. I went, the Bali bombing, which we, of course, remember.
Yeah.
That awful thing. One of the best/weirdest conspiracy theories was put out by the guy who actually did the Bali bombing. So he acknowledges that him and his mates built the bomb, and then he acknowledges that then he took it down to the dance club and, activated it. Yeah. But his claim is that in between those two actions, the Israeli Mossad secret police tinkered with the bomb to make it a larger explosion.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah, I never heard that.
That's what the Bali bomb is claiming. That's a pretty longbow conspiracy theory.
Where do you read that?
Do you want me to reference it by next week?
In other words, you've made it up.
No, I haven't made it up, Father Bob.
Give us a reference.
Okay.
No, next week it's too late. It's too late.
Benjamin Gilmore. Goodbye.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Grace Pundyk. Goodbye. Rabbi Shamir Caplan and Bernard Korbman. Goodbye. And Katia from Rudra. Goodbye. Thank you, Father Bob.
John Safran. Goodbye.
And thank you, David, the
goodbye.
producer. And dear listener, go to triplej.net.au/Safran if you want to get to the guest book.
And fatherbob.com if you want to get Bobby Waffle.
Quite happily up there. Well, I don't know what it is, but there's got me something going on upstairs.
Imam Samudra, the alleged mastermind behind the attack of the Bali bombings, told the London Times in an interview that the second explosion, the Bali bomber, was bigger than the bombers had expected, and they killed far more people than originally intended, and the bombers, therefore, the only explanation can be they were aided by Mossad. Are you happy with the London Times as your reference?
He's a fool too, the bloke who gives the interpretation. Anyway, you win.
Triple J.